Hey everyone, Andrew here, otherwise known as the guy who wrote the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, and I've got a star for a guest today. Not to put any unnecessary pressure on her, even though I probably just did right there. Um, wow, I don't know where to begin. Victoria Gallagher is, well, a number one best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Um, she is a certified hypnotherapist and has, I think, an old school way back in the day was a stockbroker, if I'm not mistaken, before really taking the plunge into something deeper. But yeah, she's the number one best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. And we kind of connected by chance, got in a conversation and decided, you know what, let's have a conversation for other people and talk about our different insights on what it means to implement the law of attraction, which is always like in process. In any case, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get straight to the start of the hour here. So without further ado, Victoria Gallagher, thank you so much for being here and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And it's just been so nice getting to know you so far. And thank you so much for having me on your show. It's truly an honor. And I mean, you're also a number one best-selling author. And, so for us to have met this way and to, just talk about our various different perspectives on law of attraction and how to make it work for people, I think this is going to be super fun.
Yeah, I'm psyched, and I gotta tell you, it's so funny. My book has a subtitle. I don't even remember it off the top of my head because, like, the regular title is so in your face. But I love what you did with your subtitle because we've got practical law of attraction, but then you've got almost like an instruction regarding signpost here of align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. I mean, it doesn't get any better or any simpler than that because that's what it's all about, right?
It really is. And I love using action words and verbs and, basically telling people what it is that I want you to do. I mean, you could just literally, if you knew how to do that, you could literally just know this is how it works is just simply, you have to align yourself with these manifesting conditions. This book is going to tell you exactly how to do that. So many people say, just align yourself or just believe or just take action, but most people don't really understand exactly how to do that, and my book definitely goes deep into that. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah, and I read your book probably shortly after you released it, and to your credit, I kind of said this before we hit the record button. You find a way of really exuding a warmth through your writing style and just through the presentation of the content. And one thing that really stuck out with me, this was early on, like very early beginning of the book. You said that Practical Law of Attraction is a book written for you to realize that you are worthy of success. And
Yes.
I love the combination of that and just even the title because even if I had not read the book, you're talking about practical. I mean, I think to me, not to put words in your mouth, this implies whether it's physical or not, this implies a certain action, a certain forward movement of leaning in and embracing it rather than just sitting back and not engaging with the universe in any way. Is that a fair interpretation of where your mindset was at as you were writing it?
It was. I'll tell you a little bit of how I came up with the idea for writing this book. First of all, I'm just an old school, old student of law of attraction from like way back in the 70s. I literally I started thinking about this. I don't even know if you were born then,
Just on the tail
but
end.
but like I really started, thinking about a lot of these things, when books like Cybernetics came out and Tony Robbins and a lot of the, older school people I started following, Deepak Chopra and Shakti Gawain, way before I even became a hypnotist. But then fast forward to when The Secret came out and people started to learn this term law of attraction that I was already familiar with. And a lot of people were like, oh, I tried it for 30 days and it didn't work. And, that's just a bunch of, BS and all of that. And it literally kind of hurt my feelings in a way. You know, like like for people to take this thing that I have been using to manifest everything that I have in my life. Like I've been aware of that since I was in 6th grade. You know, it kind of like, how dare you like misinterpret this movie? But I understood it because when I watched that movie, I was watching it through old perspective of like, yeah, of course this already exists. So I was seeing it through an entirely different, I was just excited that people were actually going to get to learn about this stuff, people, that this was going into the mainstream, that this wasn't something that we had to remain hush hush about. And you know, so I was really excited, and then when I heard people, you know, poo-pooing it, I'm like, okay, maybe they're just, how this book, this movie doesn't illustrate what, you know, it doesn't properly illustrate in 90 minutes what you actually do need to do. It just really scratches the surface and explains that, oh, there's this power that we can all connect with. And you know, but you know, it fast forwards, it's on fast forward, it's a very quick, unthorough explanation. And so it's understandable why people get so pissed off when they see this, and then they think it's a lie. They think this couldn't possibly be true. It doesn't couldn't possibly work that way. And you know what? They're right. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work where you just, you know, sit on your beanbag chair and you close your eyes and, you know, poof, you've got a Mercedes Benz out on your front, you know, in your garage. It just doesn't work that way. There is a practical method that you ultimately need to follow in order to create these sorts of manifestations.
Hmm.
And you know, and so I really wanted to bring it into a more realistic, logical, common sense, you know, format, so that people could understand that you have it. You have the ability. Ultimately, you have the ability to control your life. You have the ability to create anything that you can think of. But you know, there's certain rules ultimately to playing on that level. There's certain, and it took me a long time, you know, to kind of come up with the idea of what, like, what's the word here? Conditions? Is it practices? Is it lessons? Is it steps? Is it, you know, what is it? But they're conditions. These are, you know, these are ways of being ultimately that need to all be working together at the same time. So anyway, I just totally took over here.
No, you know, it's funny. It's like this is what happens with authors, and you should see me on podcast. Your passion, like, just like, listen, you gotta see what I'm talking about here. And you know, I really, hearing you saying this now, and also remembering what I read in the book. Again, I'm, you know, I'm reaching here in what I see, but there's almost like a certain strategy of, if you can almost hypnotize yourself, for a lack of a better word, not to trick yourself into thinking that you're worthy, but to stripping the illusions that you're not worthy and stepping into the worthiness that's always been there. It creates a space, it creates a room, it creates things for ideas to come into your head, for a way by which you're going to live your life that's going to set those conditions and leave those conditions open for the universe to deliver. Is that a fair way of putting the approaches that you teach people, and where, like, the direction you try to take with them?
Absolutely. I believe that we are all ultimately, just by being born, I mean, just by roaming the earth, we're all worthy human beings. You don't have to, you know, you know, you don't have to solve world problems in order to be worthy of all the abundance that the universe is just wanting you to have. The universe wants you to be successful. And, you know, when I say the universe, I just mean mass consciousness. You know, we all have a desire for success, and we all have a desire ultimately to see humanity expand and just, you know, and so manifesting and having a dream and having something that you're going for is really just you stepping into everything that was meant for you. All of the abundance was meant for you, and it's meant for you in order to grow and expand and become fully realized as a human being who is so much more powerful than you can ever imagine. And so just by virtue of that, we are all worthy, we all deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to get ourselves to understand that we are worthy of it. And and there's things that you can do to just make it a lot easier on yourself. So we just as a hypnotist, for the last 22 years, one thing that I understand is this. And this is one of the things that they don't really go into in a lot of books, a lot of movies, a lot of conversations is they talk about asking, believing, receiving, and all of these things. But our conscious mind is what we're using to ask and to try to believe with our conscious mind. But our conscious minds are a fraction just a fraction of our minds. And so if we are kind of going around asking for things but not really believing with the most powerful part of who we are, it's just not going to be a match.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to think that, like, we have tried, but we haven't really engaged the true power that exists within us all.
Right. So, someone comes to you and they they understand surface level, like what's going on here and what you're trying to say. And really we'll call it the process, we'll call it the theory, we'll call it the mechanics of what might be going on
Mm-hmm.
here. And they
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, Victoria, what are some things I can do today? Or do you have some homework for me over the next week for me to do to really begin to engage in this way and to access that greater part of my mind to invite this in? What would you say to them as an answer?
So it's coming from that approach. The way that I would explain it, I would kind of let them know that there's a series of things that need to come into alignment. And it all starts with, so I talk about in my book that there are 8 conditions that all ultimately need to come into alignment. And that the very first condition is desire, is knowing what you want, is having a very specific thing that you're aiming toward. I think it's fine to have a lot of different goals, but to have the one goal that is like the star of the show right now, the one
Mm,
that you're promoting, the one that you're saying, okay, this is the thing that I'm going for right now. And people give up on their goals too much. They don't focus on them long enough, and I think that's why a lot of people fail to have the success, is because they start to think about all the things that are not happening. They start to think about what they don't want. They start to look at the lack in their bank account. They start to look at the lack of clients that they're being able to attract into their business. So the first thing that I ask people to do is start to take a notice. Start to notice how they are communicating. What are they talking about? What they don't want, or are they talking about what they do want? And
mm,
when you start to notice what it is that you're complaining about, take an area of your life. If it's money and you say, God, all these bills just keep coming in, or that, I've got all this debt that as soon as I get the money, I'm going to pay off this debt. And it's debt, debt, debt you're thinking about. Or they're complaining about how they just don't ever seem to be able to get enough clients, or they're thinking about how expensive thing is, or the mortgage is coming up, or blah, 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 and they're just on and on about the reasons why, yeah, they want to manifest this money. But they're thinking about it from the standpoint of what they don't have and the lack of it. And when you notice those things, what I ask people to do is just begin to turn that around and think about what it is that they would prefer to happen instead. Now, it's not, sometimes it's not realistic in their mindset in that moment to think, oh, I could have, uh, you know, I could have 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever, dollars in my bank account. But by just thinking of the idea of having that money in their bank account, in a way that is believable to them, that's going to start to change the direction of their automatic thought process. That's going to change what they're focused on. So it's like, instead of thinking about the lack, instead of thinking about the bills, instead of thinking about the debt that they have, start to think, I'm in the process of creating X amount of dollars in my bank account, or
Mm,
many, or there's many people in the world. Find proof in other people that many people are making lots of money. Uh, Instead of, a lot of times people will look at other people that are making lots of money or that are having lots of success, and they'll be like, oh, well, that person's, you know uh, they're getting away with something, or they're cheating the system, or they're a bad person, or whatever it is. And if you do that, you're basically blocking your own ability to be successful, because you certainly are not going to put yourself into a position to be one of those bad, cheating, lying people. So
right.
you want to actually look at people who are successful, who have a lot, who are where you want to be, and you want to embrace that. You want to say, oh my goodness, look at all the success around me. That's proof, that's evidence that I can have those things. And so you just want to start to take a look at what you're complaining about and start to look for ways that you can focus on what you prefer instead. That's really like where it starts. That's the
Right.
first condition. That's the
So
first place that I would have somebody start to look.
right. So what I'm hearing from you here is basically the way by which you perceive the world becomes the way by which you program your experience of it. And by realizing that,
Absolutely.
by understanding that these are interconnected, when you are perceiving the world and you're seeing something you don't like, you want to be cognizant, because it becomes your opportunity to reframe it and thereby invite a different result. For example, if you're waiting still for the love of your life, for a boyfriend, for a girlfriend, for a mate, whatever it might be, and you see this happy, perfect, or so-called perfect couple in love, rather than saying, geez, why can't I have that? Rather than saying they get all the luck, rather than going that direction, you notice that you're perceiving this and you say, okay, what can I strategically do in my perception of this that will invite something better instead, like being happy for them, like knowing that that gratitude will extend to me, like saying, like, wow, this is perfect proof that it is possible. And if it's possible for them, it is possible for me. If it's happening for them, it can happen for me. So it becomes a thing where you almost want to be intentional on throughout, almost like take it. And I'm now extending past what you said here, but you almost want to say, I'm going to take a full day out and I'm just going to notice what I'm thinking, and I'm going to take notes, and I'm going to notice when I'm jealous, when I'm bitter, when I'm impatient, when I'm unfulfilled, and I'm going to say, what can I take from these moments of experience and how I feel, and how can I strategically flip them for the next time and be prepared in that way, so that I can just rewire my mind, rewire my perception, and reprogram those experiences that are coming in. Is that a fair way to put it based on what you were saying?
Yes, absolutely. And, because, and here's the thing, and you're probably aware of this. I mean, we have 50 to 70,000 thoughts in any given day. And most of those thoughts, based on what we have been programmed, how we've been programmed throughout society, most of those thoughts, I mean, look at the news, look at the way most people communicate. Most people speak very negatively, unless you enter this world that you and I have been, teaching these positive thinking philosophies, and reading a lot of books and really, really training. I mean, even when you do that, you still, have the vast majority of your thoughts are underneath the surface and they're negative. So we have to, I mean, any time we're aware of something that we're thinking that is going against what we want, we've got to like stop that. And eventually what's going to happen, and this is in a lot of ways the way the law of attraction works, is our thoughts are contagious. Our thoughts are continuing to, when you get into a negative mode, you just kind of go into a little bit of a downward spiral with, one thought leading to the next thought leading to the next thought, and it's attracting more and more thoughts that are like that. Well, the same thing holds true. You can spin that right up. You can start to think about what it is that you do want. And when you start to, it's just like when you practice your gratitude, when you start to, oh my God, it's like I don't have anything I can possibly think of to be grateful for. It's like, I mean, here I am, I'm sitting in this beautiful house in this beautiful room with all of, I mean, I'm grateful for this water bottle that tells me when to drink. And all of a sudden, before you know it, it's like I can think of 1,000 reasons to be grateful because one thought kind of leads to the next.
Yeah.
But the other reason why you want to do that is because you have these neural pathways in your brain that literally take you in these directions automatically. They just, your neural pathways are like the grooves in your brain that cause you to have these responses and have these reactions and have these thoughts all the time. When you can get control over that, and when you can become aware of them, and when you can stop them and turn them into the thoughts that you want to think, you are literally changing those pathways in your brain, in your neurology, to start to actually bring you into more productive way of thinking.
Yeah, and it's interesting hearing you say that. It's well, it kind of took me back to I remember when I was in college, there was this like kind of like this grassy knoll where people would always choose to cross over it in one specific place, and over the
Mm-hmm.
course of the semester, it got muddy and tracked out, and then everyone left for the summer. And you came back, like a lot of grass had grown back because like that pathway did not receive the same attention, so it was like filling up again, and people could have done that again, or they could have picked a different one. But it seems like this is just about saying like, what can I be in terms of intentional, like we consciously work on figuring out how to drive a car. And the first time, you're kind of like learning how to negotiate a turn, learning how to parallel park, learning how much you have to brake before turning to do it safely. But then it gets to a point where you've done that commute home so many times, you're thinking about other things and you're going on autopilot, making those turns and doing those things. And I kind of see this as a parallel where in the beginning you're learning to drive very intentionally, but through that effort and through that consistency and through the repetition, it does become a thing where there will come a point that you'll look at a beautiful couple and you won't have to be like, okay, let me think about this. I'm so happy for them to be like, oh, that's awesome. It'll be like automatic for them. And that's how you've hit the sweet spot and you're really in the right momentum.
That you've really explained it beautifully, and and that is the power of the subconscious mind, and we have control over that. We that's the beauty of us as human beings, is we have this super powerful mind. I mean, everything begins in the mind. I mean, there's a lot more to it, a lot more underneath the surface, a lot more than just thinking. But it begins with the process of thinking. It all
Mm-hmm.
begins there, and that's the one thing that we absolutely have control over at all times. And the more we can make that choice, make the conscious choice to guide our thoughts in the direction that are creating positivity, creating the things that we want, the more we are smoothing over those old hiking trails. I kind of think of it like, in terms of similar to what you said. There's the paths that, you that are easier to go down when you go on a hiking trail. But this is like you're carving out a new path in your brain that is going to ultimately get worn over time, and it's going to become more familiar, and it's just going to become the new way that you operate moving forward, and
Yeah,
it
it's
becomes a
creating a
little
new
bit more
default.
permanent and powerful and and positive.
I love it. Now, what I appreciate you about you, Victoria, probably because I appreciate it about me, is because we're very clear and intentional in that when we're putting out, call it products, call it content, call it material, there's an end game there, and it's just about giving the end user a way by which they can implement this in a user friendly, easy, simple, clear way. And with that in mind, I want to make sure that we didn't end this interview without asking you about, like, I understand you have an app and that is working in concert with what we're talking about here in terms of giving the mind a new way to view things. But I want to kind of turn over to you, like, tell me like about this app. What's it do? What's it called? What's it do? And what's the intent behind it?
Absolutely. So thanks for inviting me to share a little bit about that. So the app is called HypnoCloud, and what it is ultimately, it is a library of over 500 different hypnosis sessions that ultimately, we talked about creating these habit patterns. We talked about doing, actually having to think about how we want to be. But in the app, there are all kinds of programs in there that can help you to, just believe in the law of attraction, believe in the power of your mind. If you are having trouble with confidence, there's programs in there to help you to be more confident, to help you to be more focused, to help you to be more productive, to help you to, achieve any goal ultimately that you can think of. And, so it's my life's work from when I became a hypnotist in 1999 and started making recordings and, selling those all over the place on my websites. And basically, I just wanted to make it easy for people to get access. It's access to the power of your mind right in the palm of your hand. It's on your phone at all times, and it's just going to allow you to much more easily reprogram the mind, because hypnosis, that's what I do. And and it's ultimately helping you to change any of the limiting beliefs, the limiting self-talk, the negative self-talk, and begin to really program that into the most powerful part of your mind, your subconscious mind. And so, HypnoCloud, it's available on iTunes and Google Play, and it's amazing. I just get these heartwarming reviews about the app all the time. So it's wonderful.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. How long
Probably
has it been out?
went. That has been out, in various different forms, for probably, I mean, the most recent iteration of it released it about 2 years ago.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
So you're going full tilt with it. I love that. And I love, by the way, the I think a lot of it, like, if we're getting even to like the business side of things, there's market, there's media and message. And part of that
Yeah.
is media. Part of that's like, what is the format by which you want to make your help and your content available? And that, it's funny, someone, not for your specific thing, someone's approached me about doing an app in a different direction. And for
Yeah.
me, I'm all about it. I haven't been able to put my energy into it, so I've left it alone for now. But I mean, I totally agree. It's a wonderful way for people because they always have their phones with them, and that means they can do this if they're waiting. Put in the earbuds and they're in a waiting room or something. They can just like go through this. They can do it in their home. They can do it anywhere. So props to you for getting with the times more so than me and delivering a cool format where people can really engage in that. I did want to ask you, I know we've got the book, we've got HypnoCloud. What other stuff that do you have like on tap for the year ahead?
So I've got a new book that's coming out, and that one is called "How to Manifest Your Soulmate Using the Law of Attraction." And so I'm working on that. And the other thing is, last year, the year before, last year was kind of a interesting year. But the year before, I put together the Law of Attraction Intensive, which is like where we actually meet live and we work on all of these tools together and we manifest a big goal at the end. And I've got the I've got that back on the calendar for July of this year. It's the Law of Attraction Intensive, and it's a 2 day seminar that's happening in Las Vegas at the end of July, like I said. And it's amazing. And it's an opportunity to really take the book and bring it to real life and actually work with people, work with me one on one in the class, and move forward and manifest some big goals. So that's something I'm really super excited about. And I've got a few other things. I've always got at least 10 projects in the works, but
Awesome. You and
that
me
one
both,
I'm
right?
really, yeah. Definitely.
Cool.
Definitely. So
So
I'm really excited. It's going to be an amazing year, even better than last year.
I have no doubt. And so before we wrap things up, just one or two more questions, and I want to make sure just to get this out there because I think a lot of times, when you and I, people like us have like a lot of experience, people are looking for that the highest impact thing. So if someone came to you and they said, Victoria, what's the highest leverage piece of law of attraction advice you can give me right now in this moment? What springs to mind to share with them?
I think the highest level of advice at this moment is be patient. At this moment, I think because so many times people are in a rush to achieve and manifest their big goals and their dreams, but you have to be patient with yourself. You have to put something out there that is very important to you and know why that's important to you, because the why is going to be the glue that's going to keep you moving forward on your dreams and your goals. And they are important, and if you stick with them long enough and you can just continue to work on yourself, because law of attraction ultimately comes down to who you are. Law of attraction doesn't really give you so much what you want, but it gives you who you are. So you're in the process of becoming the person that is in alignment with your dreams and your goals. And that can be a little bit of a process. And so be patient, be present, be positive, and know that your goals and your dreams are possible, and you will get there if you just keep going.
It's been my experience that when you're patient, and I mean legitimately patient, not pretending to be patient since the universe knows either way, but when you really relax and ease in and become patient and know that, hey, it's on the way, let's see how the universe wants to bring it to me, that actually, in my experience and people who I've spoken with and worked with, it accelerates it because all of a sudden the resistance of when's it going to come is out of the way, and it comes almost a lot of times, not that it has to, but oftentimes it almost comes in a heartbeat once that impatience and frustration is set aside long enough to just say, no matter what happens, whether it's that money, that relationship, that health condition, what can I do to enjoy life in this moment right now? And it creates an incredible impact. So I appreciate your message of patience because not only is it perfectly in line with that, but it really, in my opinion, is almost like this secret formula and this really critical key to unlocking a lot of happiness and fulfillment. And that's what we're really here for anyway, right?
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like it's so counterintuitive because when you want something really bad, and it's like it's not here yet. You just feel like, what else do I have to do? And it can be a little frustrating, a little disappointing. And then to hear somebody say, oh, just be patient.
Yep.
It's
Good
it's a
luck.
hard thing to do, but you're absolutely right. It's almost when it's like I say you have to focus on something, but if you focus too hard, you can also block that. And so you have to just kind of loosen up the reins a little bit, be a little bit more subtle and patient. So
Mm,
thank you for for acknowledging that.
for sure, for sure. So, two more questions. First question, if people want to connect with you or get in touch, what is the best way for them to do so?
I have everything I had at one point like 35 different websites, and that was a little, long list. I may take the whole interview to mention them all. No, but so they're all under victoriamgallagher.com now. Everything that I do, all the books, all the hypnosis, all the seminars and the courses and everything is under Victoria M. Gallagher. So that's really
Awesome.
the best way. I've got my social medias, are various different, law of attraction hypnotist at on Twitter and Clubhouse, and and then I'm, Victoria M. Gallagher on Instagram. So
Just go to
just
that
connect
site.
with
You'll have
me.
access to everything. And
Just
because we're
yeah.
all about user friendly, people don't even have to type it in. I will put it in the video, the description of this video. They just got to click or tap, depending on whether on a desktop or phone. So it'll be nice and easy for people to check it out and learn more about everything else we didn't even get to cover for this. Speaking of which, one question I really want to get, have a takeaway. Really just, I'm curious the kinds of insights that might pop out as we say this, or maybe it'll just be direct and to the point. But if you can go back in time 10, 15, 20, 25 years in the past and give a younger version of you, that younger Victoria, one critical piece of advice or wisdom or insight, what would you share with her?
Oh my goodness. I would share with her that, I mean, because there was a time, I will say, when, I first started learning about hypnosis and law of attraction, power of your mind, and everything. And there was a time, when I first quit my job and started doing this full time, where I just started doing all of the action, 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 and really taking the focus off of continuing to work on my mindset, mindset, mindset. And eventually there was a little bit of a downfall from doing that. And so you have to continue. So I would have told myself, you have to continue working on developing your mindset. That is the one key thing that that is going to create everything. Everything comes from that mindset. So it's a tool that can work for you or against you, and you got to keep sharpening your mind and working on your mind. And the more you work on your mind, the less you have to actually do
Love
out
it.
there.
I love it. And if she was, thrust into the future, she has HypnoCloud. She would have your book, my book, YouTube channels, all sorts of stuff. So, and I say that because everyone listening to this right now has access to all these things. Um,
Yeah.
and it really, you find something that you enjoy. I would say also that through this mindset work, make it easy to be consistent, and you're good to go. And speaking of good to go, I am so happy that we were able to have this conversation. I really, Victoria, appreciate, well, again, the warmth and intentionality that you exude in the book that you did. I'm also excited for your app, and I wish you best of luck. And I just thank you for coming onto my channel and just sharing your perspective and the way by which you try to guide people through the law of attraction and just through, in terms of a healthy mindset. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for having me on your show. I just really enjoyed this conversation, and I love the questions that you asked me. And none of this was prepared, or I didn't know how this was going to go. And you just really seem to ask very intelligent questions, obviously coming from a space of understanding what it is that I do and I talk about, since that's what you do and talk about as well. And so it's been super super delightful, and I'm really excited to interview you on my show
Yes.
upcoming. And so just thank you so much for um, for sharing this information with your audience and your guests and everything. And I'm wishing you continued success in all of your endeavors as well. So thank you.